Hi, I'm Will Taegel, and some time ago I wrote a short story, and this is the very short version of the short story, that on the beach at Sri Lanka, 2004, Christmas Day, imagine that you're there and you hear a rumor about some native or tribal people an island away who are going to high ground for some reason and you don't know exactly why. And then that night your partner has a dream about big water. Still, you don't pay too much attention to it. But the next morning at exactly 10:04 a.m., the bay becomes white with water and a prodigious wave rolls in. And at that moment, you're asking yourself, why has my modern and postmodern mind failed me? How could it be that these tribal people had some form of knowing that I did not have, that was not available to me? And that is the question I believe we're all asking today. What is it that's missing from modern and postmodern consciousness that we can recover, and that this event, I'm not even calling it a catastrophe, this natural event in Japan recently can teach us?
Yeah. And for us to be aware that part of what's going on, because we got an email from someone saying, how do I deal with this terrible, terrible thing that's happened in Japan? How do I make peace with this? And to recognize that part of what shifted is that we're able to now see disasters happening on the screen and hit replay and watch these disasters happen. But it's nature at work. So not to minimize the suffering that's happened, but there are so many catastrophes, in parentheses, happening all around the world, constantly. And it's not, I don't believe that there's more catastrophes happening. There may be in cycles, but if you look at the Earth over time, there's been a lot of shifts in the Earth. And the event in Japan, a shift. Plates shifted. There was a result. And for most of us, we wouldn't have known about it. Except we now have webcams. We now have broadcasts. We now have instant access to something. And we then take that and it just imbues everything.
Right, and for me, I think it's important, and you bring up an important point. We're halfway through the life cycle of the Earth. We've been here for about 4 billion years, and there have been a lot of shifts in 4 billion years, and there are going to be a lot of continuing shifts. And according to the best science, in about 4 billion years, the Earth will die. Naturally. So that's one thing for us to keep in mind in the teachings here. And for me, one of the best ways to honor the Japanese with compassion is for us to look at this event inside a larger story. What can we learn from it? And that was really the point of the short story I wrote, seeds of which were 4 years ago, that there is a knowing that these tribal people had that we can recover. And in the recovery of this deep knowledge, we are thus honoring what happened in the tsunami in Japan. It's very important. And another thing that I think of, wow, when I see these images, I feel a deep humility with my smallness and with the smallness of the human endeavor, given these massive primordial movements.
Yes.
And it challenges us.
It does. And to recognize that things shift and that we can take that shift and suffer around it and feel like how horrible for the Japanese and how horrible for us and it's unfair. Or we can say, this is an incredible challenge. And there are a lot of people that are dead. There's a lot of transformation that's happening on a physical plane of things being wiped out and things being moved. And does it help the Japanese? So if when we look at the tsunami, when we look at the earthquake, we look at the devastation that's happened, does it help the Japanese for us to be in suffering and it's not fair and this is horrible? Does it help? Does it make any difference?
Right.
No. Does it help for us to find, as you were saying, Will, our compassion, our love, our openness to, wow, is there anything I can do to serve? What I believe is that this is an opportunity for us to have humility around the power of the earth and the littleness of humans, and also to be incredibly compassionate and realize that this globe is much smaller than we think it is.
Yes, yeah.
And that we can have compassion, we can reach our love, our energy out to help to create the space for how can I nourish? For some people that might be I'm flying to Japan. For some people that means I'm going to help send money. For some people I'm going to go volunteer.
Yeah.
For some people it might be how do I get my community ready if something like this happened here?
Right, and also we can develop the inner skills, which is something that we're both interested in from different perspectives, the inner skills to fit ourselves into the larger underlying primordial intelligence that is the earth and is the cosmos. So that, yeah, this is a devastating thing for individuals and for families and for the nation of Japan, and really for the planet. Yes. Devastating from the human point of view.
Right.
But from the larger point of view, we have the option of thinking about this as a purifying of our system, our meaning we as Earth. And the shift in an identity can come from our thinking about we humans are over here, and over here is the Earth and the tsunamis and the earthquakes, to shifting our identities to see we are the Earth. We are the earth thinking about this event. We all are the earth inside of the movements. And then the question comes, do we intend and grasp onto a reality that there is an underlying intelligence that Spirit has in mind through all of these so-called natural events? Mm-hmm. Because they are natural.
Yes, yeah. And it's challenging for the mind to grasp this. And it brings me back to a really beautiful Buddhist practice. So for those of you that are wondering, what do I do? How do I hold this in my being? One thing that you can practice is this idea of metta, which is loving kindness. And in this Buddhist practice, you practice first feeling your love for people that you love. Mm-hmm. So really being in love and gratitude for people that you love. And then you extend that out to people you don't know, so strangers. So you can do acquaintances, and then you feel your love, as much love as you have for someone you're really close to. Can you hold that much love for an acquaintance? Okay, now can you hold that much love for a stranger? Okay, now can you hold that same compassion, loving kindness for your enemy? So we come back into running this energy through our being of loving kindness, of compassion, and that we can run that through our being to the people that were killed by the tsunami, to the people that were displaced by the tsunami, to all the farmlands, to the earthquake, loving kindness, compassion, to the plate shifting, to the wave. And so instead of seeing anything as enemy, we can then remain open-hearted with everything as part of the natural cycle, as you're talking about.
Yeah. And in the small picture, there are a lot of people suffering.
Yes.
In the larger picture, we have to learn to challenge our usual patterns of personalities and egos and fit ourselves into a much bigger story. Yeah. Thank you.
Blessings.